everyone, and welcome to the next outsourcing live webinar. I wanted to just thank you very much for coming on today. Today's topic is going to be talking about keyword research, and I'm going to be focusing on showing you how you could actually give this to a virtual assistant or any virtual staff to be able to do the keyword research for you. Ideally, the basic principles and the steps are very much the same. The only difference is that you'd want to be outsourcing this to someone to be able to do. Now, today I'm going to be also sharing with you a tool that I'll be using as well, which is going to be called Market Samurai. And you can also use that tool alongside everything that you do as well. You can either give it to your virtual assistant or to use it for yourself. The other thing as well is if you do have any questions in regards to this particular webinar that I'm going to be running today, or you have anything relating to outsourcing, you're most welcome to put it on the right-hand side of your screen. So great, let's just get the ball rolling, and I want to just jump straight into it today and introduce to you exactly what this is all about and to show you exactly how you can have this outsourced to a virtual assistant to do literally anything for you. Now, the point of sharing this with you today is because I've recently been working with my virtual assistant to try and come up with various different keywords to optimize for certain sites. And we've been building some niche sites to be able to generate additional passive income from. And if you are planning to go down that strategy or that route to be able to get a virtual assistant to create multiple websites for you to be able to generate passive income from, then keyword research is crucial for anything that you do there, because the ideal thing is that you want to be able to choose and find the most profitable keywords to be able to start off with. And I'm going to underline profitable keywords. And if you're not going to be able to find those profitable keywords, then you're just going to be spending your time creating these websites and basically not getting anywhere with it. So I've learned that from experience, and I wanted to share that with you so that way you don't go down that wrong path as well. All right, let me just open up firstly. If you want to, and you do have a copy of Market Samurai, you can actually have that open up alongside you. Now, if you don't have a copy of Market Samurai, what you can do, I'll just actually put this over here, is you can actually go to, so it's testmarketsamurai.com, and basically that's just an affiliate link there. If you do want to use it, great, go ahead and thank you very much for clicking on that. But the thing is that you can download this particular software as a trial and just trial it out for the first 5 days or so. And if you decide to purchase it, I think it's something like $97 to be able to purchase within the first 5 or 7 days. After that, the price goes up. But have a copy of that. If you do have a copy of that right next to you, then great. Use it alongside while I'm showing you how to use it. Now, before I jump into talking about using that particular software, as I said, I'll be using this along the way. I want to actually share with you as well some simple things to look out for. If you are a beginner and you're trying to look out for particularly a niche market or particular market to be able to dominate in, or to actually build a niche website in, or to build anything in to be able to generate some passive income first, then what you want to do is to ask yourself the first few questions is, what things can you actually provide as value to the market? Because most of the time, the reasons why people go into creating niche websites is not only because that they want to generate income from, but also to provide value and also to solve a particular problem. So what I'm going to share with you right now is to refer to what I call the 3 Ps. And the 3 Ps are relating to passions, pains, and problems. And it's really good to be able to see these 3 different aspects, because these are potentially what people are probably looking for as well. If you have a passion for one particular topic, like I do, I love model airplanes and model cars, like remote control airplanes and remote control cars as well. And these things are one of my passions. I love just building them. I love putting them together, and I love seeing them actually come to some kind of fruition where I can get it to fly, where I can get it to drive along the ground and just watch it fly. So that's one of my passions, and you might have numerous passions. And what I would recommend you do is to discover these by sitting down and writing out what would be relatively to you. And usually out of these we could actually determine as being potential markets that you could look into. And I'll show you shortly how to be able to determine if these markets that you are passionate about could be potentially profitable keywords. The other thing is pains that you're currently feeling right now, things that you might feel as though that are like inhibiting you from doing a lot of things. And I can give you an example. One of the things that I find painful or see is spiders. I really hate spiders. I keep as far away as possible from any spiders. Spiders, insects, cockroaches, anything like that. That's something that it could be a market that you could go into. You could go into another market where you just see crap, that people do sell and make money from, and that could be a potential pain for them or for you. So you can also discover that as well. And then lastly, problems are things that you're facing right now. And one of the problems, believe it or not, for me at the moment is to figure out how to be able to set up streamlined, better systems with my virtual team. So systemization, and also to things that are relating to basically trying to get time productivity. That's basically what I'm trying to say, is that I have issues with time productivity at this point in time in our business because we have so much to do, but not enough time. And even if we put on more staff, it doesn't necessarily solve the problem because there are things in the system that we need to either eliminate or to put into a better way. So basically, look at the problems that you might be facing currently in your business, facing in your life, and those things could be potentially related to what people are also facing as well. For example, people in the course of Mass Outsource Mastermind that are on here right now that also face issues with outsourcing. How can they find the right people? Where can they find these people? How do you set up the system so that they can actually go out and complete it without you having to have hands-on involvement? And those are some of the problems that people would be facing. So have a look at those three things. I thought I'd give you this as a summary because it's important to really just start off with the basics. And once you've discovered what these things are, and what I'd recommend doing is probably sitting down and saying, okay, I'll think of maybe 5 different passions, 5 different pains, or 5 different problems. Write it down and then use those different type of things to be able to determine whether or not these are going to be potential markets to go into. Basically, what we want to do is take these and then discover from them using Market Samurai, which is the tool that I'm going to be using right now, to determine whether or not these are going to be profitable markets to jump into. It might not necessarily be these broad markets. It might be in detail, and you might be able to drill down to find out more. And we'll go through in that. Now, understanding this, it's not as easy as simply as just putting model cars in and basically just popping out all the different keywords. You actually need to go through and do a bit of sifting. And it's like really searching through, like looking for diamonds in the rough, as I would probably put it. And if you're going to be looking at doing some searching in terms of looking for the right keyword, a keyword that is going to be profitable is going to have to be, you need to do some thorough research. And obviously with a software like Market Samurai, it really helps you speed up that time instead of you spending your time sifting through yourself using Google and all the other tools out there. Market Samurai actually speeds that process up. So basically, when you're looking and searching for keywords, you want to drill down and say, for example, we want to go through and coming back to the example of looking for diamonds in the rough. I'm just going to draw some simple diamonds. Now, diamonds are really, really hard to get at. They're really basically compressed underneath in the ground for thousands and thousands of years, and basically from the carbon that's been compressed in there, it forms up these little diamonds that you see down here. And in order to get access to them, you actually need to drill quite deep in order to be able to find them. Now in this example, I'm referring this to being keywords. Your keywords, your money keywords, are these diamonds down here, and these are the ones that are going to be able to generate you potentially income. But in order to start there, you've got to start at the top, which is basically you're looking at your 3 Ps, as I've just been describing to you, and breaking them down into the ground or drilling down deep enough. So that should probably give you an idea of an example of how to go about doing that, because it's important to understand that it does take time and this kind of stuff can be outsourced. But if you understand the basic concept for yourself first, you can actually teach someone or just pass this webinar over to your virtual assistant or your potential candidate on what to do and let them follow this instruction. Now, the reasons why I think a lot of people would probably potentially want to also be discovering these keywords is you might be wondering, okay, I want to start up a brand new site, and it could be a potential niche site. So one reason why people want to actually do keyword research is to actually start up a new site. That's one thing. And you want to actually create the new site based on your keyword term. And it's important to do that because when you're actually optimizing or doing search engine optimization for Google, for example, Google sees and gives you more emphasis if, say, for example, you chose a domain name with your keyword. Now, for example, I'll just pick one right now. If we're going to be looking at doing or creating and generating passive income from a niche site, say, for example, called Diet Lost or something like that. That's a very popular term. People are searching for this, then ideally, if you can find a keyword that matches exactly with the domain name, which is dietloss.com, Google gives you more preference on that, and therefore obviously can help you rank up much higher and be found on search engines much quicker. That's one of the things that people look out for when actually deciding on keyword research. The other thing you might be looking at doing is to optimize your site. So if you've got an existing site, you might be wanting to optimize for certain keywords. And in my example right here for outsourcinglive.com or Mass Outsource or any of my outsourcing sites, I do a lot of keyword research, just determining whether or not which terms people are searching for and therefore optimizing for them. A term that people search for a lot is probably virtual assistants or hiring virtual assistants. And therefore, for me, I would probably type in virtual assistants inside Market Samurai and to find out what are the potential keywords that people are going to be searching for and optimizing for those. Now, I don't want to be going and targeting, say, for example, virtual assistants as such. In this instance, I'm pretty sure somebody already owns virtualassistants.com. But if I was to actually say target, say, hire virtual assistants or virtual assistant to blog for me, those are keywords that people are searching for, but not necessarily being optimized. And that's probably one other reason why it's important to understand how vast this can actually help you with regards to generating additional traffic to your site, which in turn you can convert to potentially people purchasing products from you. And then lastly, obviously we want to do keyword research to make money. That's, pretty obvious, I guess, but I think a lot of people overlook that. And really, if you start off with the right keyword that is going to be a money keyword, then there's a high chance that you will make money from that potential niche or potential site that you set up. All right, before I jump into further details, one last thing I wanted to just give you as well as an overview, which is quite important, is to share with you like a little overview of what is a good keyword and what is not really a good keyword. So it's important to really understand that because we're going to be using these criteria to determine which are going to be good keywords and which are profitable keywords as well. Now, the first thing that I usually look out for being and determining it's a good profitable keyword is obviously it's got to be relevant. If it's not relevant, misspelling there. Let me just clear that again and I'll rewrite it. So what's a good keyword? And basically, as I said, it's relevance. So one, relevance. And what I'm referring to in terms of relevance is basically you don't want to be choosing a keyword that's not going to be even related to that industry. Say, for example, we're going to choose dog training as being the keyword. Now, if I started to look up and search for things and putting relevant keywords such as fish training, that obviously doesn't relate to it. It's completely off. I mean, you could sort of relate animals together, but it's not in the same industry. And you want to keep away from those things. So basically anything that's relevant to dog training, like maybe canine training, for example, those kind of things are going to be relevant because canine's another dog. So make sure that whatever keyword you choose is going to be relevant. And you might find that this is just common sense, but some people really do overlook this and then get themselves into the wrong market altogether. Okay. Second thing is traffic. That's that's one of the number one reasons why a lot of people don't succeed is because they pick a keyword that doesn't have enough traffic. And traffic's important because the fact is if you can capture that amount of traffic, which is basically your customers and consumers, and they come through and see that there's a particular product there to buy or so forth, then you can potentially make money from that. So traffic is very, very important, and making sure that you do find a keyword that has potentially the traffic that you're looking for. Now, to find out all about that, I'll show inside Market Samurai, but basically Market Samurai pulls all the statistics out from Google and pretty much shows them to you what the average traffic is coming from a keyword. And the beautiful thing about that is that, it's predicted. It's pretty much already proven traffic that's happened in the past, and they take it as an average. So that's important to be aware of. The third thing is competition. There's two ways you can look at it. You can look at competition as being, let's put it this way. If you go into a market where it's very, very competitive, where there's like a ton of niches or ton of websites out there that are already ranking very highly for a particular keyword term, such as dog training. Dog training is a very competitive market already. Then it might take you a very, very long time to be able to get into that market and basically be able to generate some income from. Now, the goal really for us is to try and find a market where there isn't much competition, so low competition and high traffic. And this is crucial because the fact is that if you can find a market that does that, which I know takes a bit of time, and there are markets out there that are possible for that, then you can really dominate that market and become at the top and generate income from. And ideally, what we want to try and do is to go at the medium part of the spectrum, to find where there is competition, a little bit of competition, but not too much, and where there is enough traffic. And the thing is that with that kind of competition in there, it gives you a sign that there is a market that's available. Now, if you went and found a market there where there's no competition, has a lot of traffic, it's kind of a signal to say that, look, this market doesn't have any potential money to be made. And I can give you a good example, actually. Blogging, as an example, or making money niche, has a lot of competition already. Now, the reason why there's so much competition is because everyone's wanting to try and get into that market and try to come out at the top. But because it's a very, very competitive market, it may take you many, many years to even make it. Not even that, you might not even make any money from it too, because firstly, people in that kind of market are really teaching about what their experiences are. And if you haven't done that, then it's very difficult to come out on the top. So just be careful of the competition that's in the particular market that you might be going into, and just be aware of that. And then finally, this is also a very important one too, is make sure that there is commercial value. And a commercial value, what I mean by that is that there is actually money to be made from this keyword. It comes back down to seeing what people are actually looking to pay for this keyword or this market. And the way we can find out through that is through Google AdWords or Google AdSense. Google provides people with advertising. Let me just actually jump in and show you. People, actually I can't do that, not right now. I'll just close that up actually. I'll explain to you in a moment. But basically, commercial value explains to people is that if there are people out there advertising and paying money for that particular keyword, then really that's a potential market that there is commercial value. And if you remember looking at Google, on the top part of Google, for example, I'll just pretend as though this is Google up here. And on the right-hand side of Google, you'll see lots of ads. These potential ads are advertisers that people are actually paying for. And Google knows who's paying for what. So what we can do is we can find out from these ads how much people are actually paying. And that determines whether or not people paying for those keywords that people are searching for are commercial value. All right. So that's the 4 values of a good keyword. And then maybe just to add one last one onto it as well is passion. Just to determine whether or not a good keyword is if you're passionate about it. Because you want to be able to write about a particular topic that you're going to be passionate about. Or even if you have your virtual assistant writing about it, you want to know that they're going to be passionate about it and also putting in the efforts to do it. Because if they're going to be talking about something that they're not even interested in, then you're going to be sending some work over to them that they're not going to do. So just make sure that you choose something that people are going to be passionate about writing, whether it be yourself or for your virtual assistant. Okay, so I'll just do a quick recap. There are 5 areas that I would recommend. 1, to look at a keyword is 1, relevance. 2 is traffic. 3 is competition. 4 is commercial value. And 5 is passion. I know I've gone a little bit drawing crazy, but yeah, basically those are the 5 things that you need to be aware of when you're looking and researching for a good keyword. All right, so let me just clear this. I think it's probably about time now to just show you a demonstration of what to do inside, say, for example, Market Samurai, because the first thing you need to do is to understand, rather than me just go through and give you more theory, I guess it show you an example of something that actually is a good keyword and what isn't. All right, so let's just jump over to Market Samurai. If you've got Market Samurai open, then that's great, and follow along. All right, first thing is, once you open up Market Samurai, and as I'm on a Mac, this is how it looks like, but in PC, it's very much the same. The thing is you want to create a brand new project. And if you've got your current projects in here, you can see I've got a few here. You can open them up. But we'll start off firstly with creating a new project. And once you create a new project, what you want to do is come back down to typing in some of the keywords that you've done research. And if you remember, I just talked about the 3 Ps. The 3 Ps, which are the passions, the pains, and the problems. And if you've already come up with a few categories or few sample markets that you're potentially interested in going into, then type that keyword in. So what I'm going to type in here is there's a few markets that I'm interested in. I'm just going to choose engagements, because I've been recently engaged, or been engaged for at least a year now, but we're getting married. So actually maybe I might try weddings. Wedding. That's an interesting topic. So I'll put in weddings. And if you just hit tab, it'll create a new title, and then we'll click create. And what will happen is that Market Samurai will basically open up to this whole section of all these different modules. I know it looks a little bit confusing at the moment if you've never seen Market Samurai, but don't worry. I'm going to just help you and really let you understand what are the most important things to look at. First thing that's most important for you to focus on is the keyword research. And you can also access the tab over here as well. That's the first one we're going to be using. And also SEO competition. Those are the 2 modules that we'll be focusing on, okay? So those are the 2 things you only need to worry about. Don't worry about the rest, because they're not going to be relevant in this particular webinar. But the thing is you want to be able to understand how these 2 work. Keyword research and SEO competition. Basically, the keyword research allows us to do some research on a particular keyword. And in this instance, we've chosen weddings to be the keyword. So what you do is click on keyword research on the left here. And I'm going to go through right now and show you what to do. If you click on generate keywords, what will happen is that Market Samurai will now go straight into Google and start to find keywords that are relating to weddings, potentially keywords that you could actually go into. Now, weddings itself is a very, very competitive market, and being so competitive, I wouldn't recommend trying to target that as the first keyword. There may be different keywords that you could look into, such as maybe wedding favors, wedding dresses, wedding setups, wedding organization, wedding planning, etc., etc. There's a lot of different smaller markets that you can go into. And as Market Samurai is now accessing the internet to be able to get that, it will take a bit of time. Sometimes it takes up to 5 to 10 minutes to do. Sometimes it might take a few minutes to do. And it just really depends on what's happening with their server. So in the meantime, let me just jump back into my PowerPoint presentation, and I'll explain to you as an example of how Market Samurai goes about this. So let's say we look at the first keyword, which is, as I said, weddings. And this is my main keyword, or my topic, I should say. This is a keyword topic that I've chosen from my 3 Ps. Okay. Now, what will happen is that you can actually dig down deeper. And if you remember, I was talking about looking and searching for diamonds. You can dig down deeper. Now, the first thing I might be thinking about, or finding out from Market Samurai is that there might be some other keywords like wedding favors, for example. And that's a particular topic I've been doing right now because we've been deciding what wedding favors to actually give to our guests. The other thing as well we've been doing as well in search of wedding favors is invitations. So wedding invitations has been also another topic that we've been talking about quite a bit. Another thing that's been doing is to actually search for the churches in the area and what happens in the church. So there are numerous things that happen in a church. For example, walking down the aisle, how long it takes to walk down the aisle. Does it have musical instruments? All those kind of things. Anyway, I'm talking too much about my wedding. But basically, what I'm just trying to share with you right now is the potential markets that are possible to actually go into. And these are just some examples. You may come up and find that wedding favors is already a competitive market. So there might be things that might be further down in wedding favors, such as maybe wedding favor ideas. I don't know, something like that. And that might come out to be a potential market that you could look into going. Invitations. There might be wedding invitation templates or something like that. So yeah, there's basically potential markets that you could continue to dig down deeper to be able to find more markets. And until you get to the point where you keep going down further and further and further to be able to find that one market that is also profitable, that's the market that you're looking for and can take on and really start to use. So if you can sort of see this from this example, you start off with your main topic, which is at the top, or your main passion, pain, or problem, and then you basically draw down into these areas using Market Samurai to find out whether or not they're suitable. Okay, so I'm going to just jump back over right now to Market Samurai and see what it's getting up to right now. Hoping that Market Samurai has finished doing its search. There we go, it's 16% done. Obviously with weddings, it's quite a big market, and I've just had to keep cancel because it just took too long. So what I'm going to do is I might just go into say wedding favors. And I'll click update. Shouldn't take us long with that wedding favors because it's a little bit more of a detailed topic. Same thing again, go to keyword research and then generate keywords. And as I said, it does take a bit of time to do something like that, to do some research in it. But once it's loaded up, it will give you potential markets that you could go into. What I'm going to do is, while that's opening up as well, I might talk a little bit about the traffic that's going to be coming through and how traffic can be relevant for you. So, jumping back over to the presentation slide while that's happening. If you remember when I was just talking about that whole diagram where I showed you what Market Samurai will do, is basically once you've got that keyword, say I chose wedding favors, and wedding favors has good traffic, you know, it might have something like 100 visitors per day. If it has something like that, then that's great, you know, that's a good start there. And usually what we want to look out for is that we want to find at least a minimum of 80 visitors a day from a particular keyword. But what's going to be important is what happens when you actually get onto, say, the first ranking of Google, which is ideally what we're trying to target for. It's like once you've got this keyword, which is what we're trying to target for, and you've found out just from results based on what Market Samurai delivers back to you, say it's got over 100 visitors a day, then what you want to do is to understand how this traffic can also be turned into potentially money. But before I jump into that, let me just share with you what happens when you actually rank, say, number one place on, or number one a page of Google. This is really the general statistic or general idea of what happens when you rank on the first page of Google. So if you get, say, on the first page of Google and you're number one position, say you're number one, what happens is that just from statistics, it's shown that you get about 42% of the traffic. just for ranking number 1 for any keyword that you have. So if you're ranking for wedding favor at number 1 for your website, you'll capture at least 42% of the traffic. If you're ranking number 2, for example, you'd capture about 12% of the traffic, which is a big drop actually in actual fact. It's about 30% difference, which you can see that it's actually the reasons why people try and get the first place of Google. And then when you go down to ranking 3, or you rank number 3, it goes down to about 8% or so, and 4, etc. It goes down about 6% and less. So obviously you can see it tapers off dramatically from there onwards, and that's the reason why it's so crucial that you try to get placing number 1. That's why so many SEO experts try to help other businesses out there trying to get their site ranked on page 1 and also ranking number 1, because you do get at least 42% of the traffic. So understanding that and seeing how effective it is and how important it is, you could actually use this to your advantage. Knowing that how important this is, you could actually look for keywords that are not searched that are searched often but don't have much competition, and you can actually outrank those simply by doing the proper keyword research that's available. All right, so let me just show you through Market Samurai again. It's about 20% through. It's taking a bit of time. I do sincerely apologize for the little bit of time it's taking to load this up, but hopefully it will come up very soon, especially because we're running a webinar right now. It does take a little bit of time to load up. But as I was saying to you at the beginning, if you do have any questions, feel free to put them on the right-hand side right now, and I'll definitely be answering towards the end in our Q&A session as well. But once Market Samurai comes back to us, and as you can see, it's actually speeding up right now, it's coming up. Once Market Samurai comes back to us with the list of potential keywords that we can do or use, then I can actually show you how it all works. And then that way, from there, you could determine and use this simple strategy and this formula, this step-by-step instruction on how to go about researching and finding the right keywords for whatever market you choose from the 3 Ps that I've suggested. Okay, while we're waiting for this, it's actually moving pretty quickly now, so I'm pretty happy it is, but still not there yet. It's with about 66%. As I said to you, traffic is important. So we're looking at 4 things. The first thing is relevance, which I've been talking about quite in detail, and make sure that you do choose a market where there is complete relevance in the market or the keywords that you choose. Then the second thing is to find out whether or not there's traffic, which is what I was just talking about there. And from there, we can talk about the competition, which is going to be coming back down to the Seo Competition Module inside Market Samurai. We're nearly there, 91%. So it's ticking away, and this is a lot of fun just sitting here and watching the little timer go through. All right, very, very much there now. So it's 95%, and it should generate and present the results in front of us very, very soon. Okay. Also too, the other thing I want to just mention as well is that I will be sharing with you how to go about looking for potential products that are also going to be related to a market, because the fact is that once you've actually found that keyword inside whatever market you choose, then basically you want to be able to know what products you can sell or how you can advertise it and so forth. All right, let's have a look. I'm so glad it's come up now. It's come up with 800 results, and it's showing you lots of different potential wedding favors. Wow, there's a lot of wedding favors. All right, to filter this down, because ideally we don't want to go through 800 of these wedding favor keywords, because the fact is that not all of it may be relevant. Like for example, a wedding less ordinary, that doesn't even seem related to wedding favors at all. So I'll just put a cross there. Now I'll show you how this works. Basically, if you put a tick, it will mean that I want to keep this keyword, and this keyword is going to be relevant to whatever it is. If you put a cross, which means a negative keyword, it will automatically say, look, any keywords that are there, like that, a wedding less ordinary, I don't want. So what I really want is wedding favors. Anything that has wedding favors in it is what I want. So I want to select this, and I want to select that. See how it's underlined those 2 wedding favors? And if you put a tick there, which means positive keywords, it will automatically filter through for me and filter every keyword that has wedding favors in it. Anything else that doesn't have wedding favors, I don't want to know about, okay? And as you can see, there's 77 active keywords now, reduced down from 800. And that's a very, very quick way to be able to help you find the keywords that you're looking for. The other thing I want to get rid of is cheap. I don't want to be looking at for free or cheap, because most of the time, those kind of type of, I guess, keywords are really targeting for the freebies, and we don't want to go into a market where there's freebies, because they're not going to buy anything from us. Okay, so hopefully that's given me a good indication, which is great. And what we want to do is now click on this button here that says keyword analysis, which will take us through to the next part. And this is where it goes straight into Google right now to determine and show us more statistics which are going to be relevant and important. They're relating to basically what we need to do. By doing this, it helps us even filter down more and helps us determine whether or not these keywords are going to be profitable and money-making keywords. Now, standard, basically, Market Samurai has what they call golden rules. And you can use those factors. It basically gives you these figures and puts them in automatically for you. But in this instance, I've created a custom filter for my niche site or my profitable rules. And essentially, I'm just going to explain to you how this works. What I'm trying to look for is SEO traffic that has 80. Actually, before I jump into that, let me explain what all this is firstly. Once you've got all these details coming out from, say, Market Samurai, and originally I had 77 filter results, now it's come down to 8 because we've applied the filters. Basically, what we want to do is to find out which keywords has more than 80 search engine traffic visitors a day. And this is potentially, if you were ranked number 1 on Google, as I mentioned previously, if you rank number 1, you get 42% of the traffic. If you're ranked number 1, you get at least minimum of 80 visitors a day. That's basically what we want. And then the PBR, which stands for phrase to broad match ratio, is basically if your keyword is, say, for example, wedding favors, which is what I've got here. Any keyword, I won't put the whole thing, I'll just put wedding favor. If your keyword is wedding favor, and whatever keywords it comes in at, it's got to make sure that it has a very close match to those keywords. If you've got anything that's close to 100% or even at 100%, it means it's an exact match, which it is here for wedding favors. Anything below that, anything between, say, 25% and up, it's close enough. And that's the reason why we've chosen a phrase to broad match ratio of 25%. Basically, the higher the percentage, the better. That's what you're looking for. Just to put it in simplistic terms. A lot of people don't understand how that works, but that's what you want to do. And then all the rest of the stuff, which needs to be found from Google, and we'll do that very soon, is that what we want to find out is we want to make sure that there is a minimum of 80 cents per click from Adwords. So if somebody's advertising for, say, wedding favors, we want to be sure that the ads will cost people at least a minimum of 80 cents to be able to purchase that ad. And that helps us to determine whether or not there's value in it. Obviously, if it's at $0, no one's clicking for those ads, then it's not going to be relevant for you. So basically choose or make sure that you do have 80 cents or more. And then the last thing you want to do is make sure that you have a phrase match, not a broad match. A lot of times it comes out to be broad match. Broad is basically anything that has wedding favors in it. And phrase match is anything that has exact or very close to the phrase wedding favors. And that's what we want. Exact match is exactly those keywords, which is wedding favors or your keyword in your keyword selections that you've chosen. So phrase match is important. And basically these are the terms. Now, once I apply these filters, it's obviously only brought down 8 keywords for me. And these are potentially 8 markets I could go into, or 8 keywords. So I'll just click Analyze Keywords right now. And what will happen is that Market Samurai will jump straight back into Google and find out for me the statistics on how much you get in terms of cost, which helps us determine whether or not this actual keyword is commercially viable. Because what we found right now is the traffic. Right now it's just doing some work, so just got to let it think. But essentially, as you can see right here, we found out the cost, the traffic that's coming in through for each and every one of these keywords. let me jump over to my presentation slide and I'll show you commercial value and why commercial value is very, very important. And I'll explain to you how we determine why 80 cents was a minimum that we're looking at. All right, so let's say we're looking at wedding favors, WF. And WF is wedding favors, keyword. So what we want to find is we want to have a minimum of 80 cents per click. That's minimum. And what that means is that if you jump into Google, for example, and on the right hand side of Google, you've got all these ads, these ad placements, and then also too on the top here, usually you've got other ad placements as well. People, advertisers are actually paying money for each one of these ads. All right, that's pretty simple there. If you don't know much about Google AdWords or Google AdSense, both of them are, one's are advertising and one's also paying one back to you. And essentially what Google does is that it allows people to be able to place ads on their side and also on the top banner as long as they pay a certain amount for every single click. So say for example, if somebody was typing in wedding favors, these ads on the right hand side could be worth at least a minimum of 80 cents if people were clicking on them. And every time somebody clicks on these ads, 80 cents gets paid to Google for that ad. And then also too, the remaining balance goes straight back to whoever it is that's paying for that ad as well. Oh, sorry, monetizing that ad on their website. Excuse me. Losing my voice there because I've been talking quite a bit this morning. All right, so yeah, what's important is just to understand that Google has these metrics that determine and tells you what an average people would be paying, for example, wedding favors. And if it's greater than 80 cents, then that's a good metric to be basing off, because that's what we want to do. We want to find keywords that have greater than 80 cents value. And obviously the more clicks that we do have coming through from our site, if you're ranked at number 1, the more money you're going to be making. So let me just see if Market Samurai is still guessing. It's taking a bit of time because of our webinar. There we go. So I'll just clear that right now. So as you can see, it's actually coming up pretty quickly now. It took a bit of time to think. Don't know why. There we go. Perfect. All right. So it looks like it came back to us with only 3 results now. Obviously, the first result is wedding favors, which is not what we want to go into because it's just extremely, extremely competitive. I can tell you that straight away. But there are wedding favors ideas and personalized wedding favors. And as I mentioned, if it's got greater than 80 cents value per click, then that's also a potential market that we could go into. And based on the traffic, if say we get 137 people clicking through traffic every day, it'd be that figure times that figure, which gives you the overall figure that you could be making. So you could potentially be making about $360 a day if you got on the first page of Google, if people are clicking through your ads. Same thing here. There's 91 potentially people clicking on this one, and each value is worth $2.67, and therefore you can make $243 per day. That's not bad for per day. If you actually have a look and see how much you can make over a whole month, you multiply that by 30, it's almost $6,000, which is pretty good for a website. Now, that's only the first 3 aspects. This tells you the relevance, tells you the traffic, and also tells you whether or not it's got commercial value. The 4th thing we need to find out is whether or not there's competition for these keywords, because obviously there's competition for it or no competition. We know that might not be a market to go into. So I'm going to click on wedding favors ideas. And if you click on this little key, what happens is that it generates and opens up a whole new tab for you, which allows you to be able to go into that and do more keyword research to find out if there's any more detailed keywords there. But essentially what we want to do now is jump into the Seo Competition Module, which shows you what the competition is. And once you click on that, you'll see this grid here. Simply click Generate Results. And soon you'll start to see some results coming back to you to show you whether or not this market is feasible. And don't be alarmed, because there are going to be a lot of things here. There's a big grid that you're going to probably go, what is this? So I'll explain to you very, very soon, once it loads all up, what it all means. And that way you can understand how this works. The other thing to mention as well is that Market Samurai continually is updating their software. So from time to time, depending on when you see this webinar, this may change. So if you're seeing the webinar, which is in mid-June now of 2011, seeing in 3 or 4 years' time, Market Samurai may have done their updates and changes. And I've noticed that recently as well, because they've added some additional fields down here, which I'm still yet to figure out what it means. But essentially, and this is how it's supposed to look. So I'll just close it up and we'll just wait for a little bit. All right, so maybe let's talk a little bit about competition and how competition should work. Because once we see these results, what we want to find out from these results is whether or not the competition is going to be competitive, which is very, very hard to beat, or whether or not this competition is pretty easy. And the good thing about Market Samurai is that it's made it very easy to understand. Essentially, I'll just jump back over here. If you see lots of green, which is here. So if you see green, which is the green boxes, then it's a plus, it's a good thing, it's a big tick. If you see orange, which I don't have an orange color, whoops. No, I don't have an orange color. But if you see orange, I'll just put blue for the moment, or I'll just call it orange. Orange means it's okay. I can't spell. What am I doing? Orange. Okay. And if it's orange, it's okay. Now if it's red box, it means it's not good or it's extremely competitive. So I thought I'd explain that to you. Let's have a look to see if it's come up. Market Samurai should be almost done. Nope, it's only 56%. All right, while it's loading up still, I might as well explain it to you. I know you might not be clear because Market Samurai sort of faded that out right now for you. What you could see up here is just basically a matrix that determines or shows you what the competition is like. And if you were to jump into Google and you were to search for the top 10 results for wedding favors in, say, Google USA, it would generate and display the top 10 results. And what Market Samurai is showing you right now is the top 10 results. But the thing is, with Google, you only just see the top 10 results. You don't see any of the details such as how many backlinks it has, what its page rank is, what its description is, all those kind of things. And what Market Samurai has done for us is that it's actually filtered all this down and shown us exactly what there is. And that's the beauty of using this software, because it's sort of like a quick overview of what to expect from the competition. And immediately, just by looking at it, there's a lot of reds, which straight away to me, when I see something like this, it's not good. But in saying that, I thought I'd show you exactly what we're looking for, because it gives you a good indication of whether or not this is a market that you want to jump into. Excuse me. All right, should be loading up very soon. I think it's just probably finding one or two other things. But essentially, I'll explain to you what these things are. DA stands for domain age. And also too, if you want to know exactly what these things are, you can see them up here as well. DA, domain age, PR stands for page rank, IC stands for Google index count, and so forth. But let me just explain to you briefly what these things mean. Domain age is how long the domain has been on Google, ranked for. PR stands for page rank, which is basically how Google determines or gives the website a score of out of 10. If it's higher than, say, 5, it's already very, very good. And if it's 10 out of 10, it's obviously very good. And sites like those are basically Facebook and, the really top performing sites. IC stands for incoming index count, which is basically how many pages that Google can count from your website. RD is referring domains. This is actually a new column that Market Samurai has added in, and I'm still not familiarized with that. Excuse me. But from looking at this, referring domains could probably just mean that what domains are referring back to this particular site. So it could be something like weddingfavors.com is referring back to myweddingfavors.com. And they've got over like 15,000 of these referring them. BLP stands for backlink pages, which means how many pages that this site has ranked for this particular keyword. Backlink domain stands for how many backlinks are linking back to this domain. BLEG stands for the government or domains that are linked to the government sites or organizational sites such as edu and org, and these are sites that also give them high ranking. DMZ stands for the listing directory on DMOZ, and that's basically a free directory listing. Yahoo directory, YAH, is the directory that Yahoo lists, which you have to pay something like $500 a year to be able to list on that directory. Title, URL, description, and header. These are the final things that are listed on their site. These are what we call the search engine optimization of their site. And if they've got the term wedding favors ideas listed on their domain, it means that they're optimizing for that. In this case, they're not, because it's NNN. And then finally, CA stands for Google Cache Age, which stands for how long these pages have been cached on Google. All right. I don't know why it's still sitting there, but I'm just going to cancel it because this is sufficient enough anyway to show you. All right, good. So the top 10 sites, and as I said, you can see quite a lot of red. Just to let you know, I turn off a few of these tabs because I don't use all of them. So I'll turn off domain age, don't really look at that. I'll turn off the Google index count. Referring domains I'll leave on for the moment. I'll turn off domain backlinks. And basically I'll leave all the rest open. All right, so looking at this in general, there is quite a lot of green as well once you've turned off all those. But what's important for me to have a look at that's really crucial is, firstly, I want to know how many backlinks that these sites have going back to their main site. And anything that's gone over above like 1,000 or 2,000 is already alarm bells for me. So obviously I won't be looking at going into that market. But one other thing I want to look at as well too is whether or not these sites that I have here have a high page rank. And if you add these page ranks all together, which 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc., plus those, it has to be less than 2.5 on average. So say for example, I added up all of these page ranks, which I know if you average them out, it'd probably be like 5 or 6 already page rank. It's basically add all these up, divided by 10. You should be able to get anything less than 2.5. If it's greater than 2.5, immediately I don't go into that market. So that's one key indicator. And basically, this is your competition. If your competition has a lot of red, as you can see right here, then immediately I don't want to go into it. But if you see that there is a lot of greens, which is right over here as well too. Whoops, where's my green? There we go, there's my green. If you see a whole row of green like over here, over say 3 rows spread across, then it's a good thing. So you want to find sites or competition sites that have green rows like this. The more green rows like this straight across, the better. And that's basically also a determining factor of whether or not this would be a good market to go into. All right, so that's competition. I know that I've gone through and tried to explain this whole thing to you. It's quite a bit of a matrix, or it's a little bit confusing at first when you first look at it. But once you get used to it and once you get a bit of practice and keep doing this over a few times, it will become a lot easier. And just keep remembering, add the total of the PRs together, divided by 10. Well, basically the ones that have like numbers like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Add those together, divided by 10. If it's less than 2.5, then that's already your first indication that yes, it's a good niche to go into. And then secondly, find as many green rows that you can. Obviously try to go for a minimum of 2 to 3. Now, this is a very competitive niche. So I thought I'd show you what isn't a competitive niche, but also a market that I've gone into that works. So I'll click on my niche sites and I'll just show you as an example. And we are going to be wrapping up very soon, another 10, 15 minutes or so. And if you do have any questions right now, feel free to ask them in the right-hand side of this webinar as well. But I'll just show you the niche that I've gone into, which is engagement gift ideas, isn't as competitive. And I'll just click on the SEO competition to show you. Should be loading up, and there you go. Okay, so I'll just turn off those things that I don't need. And there we go. So as you can see, this is not as competitive as you saw in wedding favors. There's a lot more greens, especially when you're comparing it to the other sites that we had just then. And I'm going to do a quick show just to show you adding all these up. Let's have a look. We've got PR of 2 there, so 2 plus 3 plus 3 is there. Okay, so it's 5, 8, 11, 14, 16. So if you add those together, it becomes 16. 16 divided by 10 is 1.6. So straight away, it's less than 2.5. And that's a plus already. So that's the reason why I've gone into this. I can see there's one whole line of green there. And also, yeah, that's one. And I think also too, if you have a look at here, it's these I would sort of consider as green because there's only one sort of Y there and the rest is not optimized. But that's one of the reasons why I went into this particular niche, was because the fact is the competition wasn't as high, and there's traffic and there's also a commercial viable value. Now you might be wondering, okay, where's my site? Well, Engagement Gift Ideas HQ is my site, and I'm ranking currently number 6, and we've been working on this for probably the last month or so. So only a few more spots to rank up to page or first ranking, and I believe if we keep doing what we're doing, we'll probably get there very soon. All right, so that's basically competition. This is an example of a good market to go into that doesn't have very much competition and enough traffic. And hopefully you can see just from these examples what you can do to do some good keyword research to find good money keywords. All right. I know I've done a lot of talking about how to search in Market Samurai. And I thought, actually, before I do jump over and finish this off, let me just show you once again, if I open up the project that we're talking about, which is wedding favors. And there we go, weddings. You might be wondering, okay, how do I go about finding the market? Like once you've been doing this research over and over again, how do I know which is the right market? And if you find one that isn't the right market, what do you do from there? So what I'm going to share with you right now is, let's just jump back into wedding favors. And as I just showed you, I found the market wedding favor ideas to be too competitive. It was just too much competition in there, and I just said, no, definitely not. So what you do is to go back to wedding favors ideas or whatever it is and dig deeper. So what you want to do is go back to your keyword research and repeat that exact same process I showed you back in the early part, which is to go through a keyword research, click on generate keywords, apply the filters, and then find the keywords again that I just showed you, and then repeat that process of looking at the SEO competition and seeing whether or not that market or that keyword is competitive enough. If it meets those 4 criteria and it does come out to be a good result, then you've found your keyword, your profitable keyword. If it doesn't, then repeat that process again and go through that same process over and over again until you do find it. Now, if you do get stuck and you go, okay, there's nothing there, then it's a sign or a signal that that market is already tapped into and there's already too much competition in there. And I would move on to the next P that you've chosen. And obviously, if you've got, say, 15 of those different topics that you've put on paper, just go through all those and just keep looking. Okay, so I know that this will take a bit of work and a bit of time. And all I can encourage you is just to either get someone else to do it, to help you with this, because it is a repetitive process, like outsource it to a virtual assistant, or if you do have the time and you want to do this and learn all about it, continue to repeat that process and learn about it. Well, that ends this webinar. Really want to say a big thank you for taking your time to watch this, and I hope that you've learned something from it. I just wanted to remind you again, if you haven't got a copy of Market Samurai, you can go to www.testmarketsamurai.com And if you do have any further questions about this webinar, feel free to hop over to outsourcinglive.com and you can ask me any question there as well. So I wish you all the best with your keyword research, and also I do hope that you do find a very profitable niche, and love you to be able to share that with me as well so that I could congratulate you on your success as well. Thank you again, and I'll see you inside the next video. And just remember, just to outsource it. Now, if you like more resources like this one, you can find them inside Mass Outsource Mastermind, along with video tutorials and step-by-step instructions showing exactly how I use them. To get a 30-day, no-risk trial membership to Mass Outsource Mastermind, simply visit freevideoset.com. Until next time, I wish you success in your quest for outsourcing.